Have you ever had this thought, when this happens, then I'll be able to dot, dot, dot. Today on the Finding Traction, we talk about the when, then trap.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, today I want to invite my buddy David Desir on all the way from Iowa. And I got to hang out with him and a group of his guys early Saturday morning. It was like 6 a.m. for me. It was 8 o'clock there. And I have never met a guy from Iowa before. So that's like a mountainous state, isn't it, Iowa?
Yeah, it's a pretty treacherous terrain, to be honest with you.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Well, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know anything about Iowa. I heard that so I asked a friend of mine, I'm on another group. He's from Nebraska. And I asked him to tell me about Iowa. And, he did not say a lot of nice things. So I don't know. Like,
Hey, I grew up in Wisconsin, so being in the Midwest, I've heard all the different, I guess, play on the territory and play on the region, so to speak.
Right.
But hey, you gotta love Big Ten football. I'm a born and raised in the Midwest, so.
Well, apparently what Iowans believe that Nebraska, the N stands for is how they spell knowledge or something. That's what I'd heard.
I heard the same thing. Absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so hopefully all the Iowan guys will like me at the end of this. But, one of the things that when I came on that Saturday morning sharing session, there was about 15 guys and we were talking and I just walked through, as I've done on an earlier podcast, all the different myths that I believed about, when I got to this stage, then I would magically be able to walk out of porn. And when I got married or when I got into ministry or when I, grew older. And then I saw a kind of a summary that you did of our time together. And you used this word, the when, then trap. And I really liked it. I thought, wow, that's a really unique way of kind of summarizing that. So David, just tell me a little bit about what that means to you and how that's been operational in your life.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Vern, I just appreciate you coming on and joining us and being able to share your insights and your past and your testimony, which is absolutely a powerful testimony, a powerful word. The when then mindset that you touched upon impacted me deeply, and just it reminded me of a lot of the things from my past that I used to put a gauge to or a barometer to. I used to wake up thinking that, when I'm married, then life will be good, or when I get this certain job, then things will start to straighten out. My finances will be good, and I'll start to be able to buy the things that I've always wanted or that I coveted when I was a young boy, actually. And it was funny because I had met with a recruiter. I went to school for industrial design, and I met with a recruiter after I did an internship. I did an internship for a footwear company. I was a footwear designer.
Okay.
And this recruiter that I had spoken with early on in my career, it kind of gave me a roadmap of saying, okay, when you're this far into your career, you should be at this level making this much money. And then 3 years down the road, you should be making this much money. And 3 years down the road from that. And this particular recruiter kind of set that map in my mind.
Wow.
And I needed to, and I was so passionate about hitting those benchmarks that this recruiter had placed for me. And sure enough, that recruiter would call every 2 to 3 years for the next opportunity. And that's really how I live my life as far as from my profession and my career side. And it was a motivating factor and a driving factor. And it I had a chip on my shoulder from when I was a young boy. When I was a senior, I skipped my junior year of baseball. I played baseball and basketball. Skipped my junior year of baseball because I knew I wasn't getting any playing time. And when I went out my senior year, I ended up getting cut. And it
Mm.
was definitely a hit to my ego. But it was also a statement that the coach at that time was making, hey, you got to commit to this program in order for you to get playing time, in order for you got to respect the program if we're going to respect you. That's what I look back and I realize now.
Right.
So after I graduated from high school, I did have that chip in my shoulder, and I was going through college. The goal was to make money.
Mhm.
It wasn't about education. It was the driving factors, things of the world. And so that when then mindset really was launched, it was seeded from that aspect of, I need to perform to make this amount of money, and then I'll be able to buy this, or even in that case, I'll be able to get the girl that I want.
Mhm.
Everything's going to fall into place the more I continue to climb that ladder that was laid out before me from a recruiter. And he was encouraging, but he
Yeah.
also was getting a commission off every opportunity that he would land somebody else in a
Right.
position.
Yeah. Now, do you think with that being kind of embedded in your operating system, did that kind of set you up for the wheels to come off at different times in your life? Do you feel that that set you up for a crash at some point?
I do actually, because I was always, when you're in that mindset, it's the when then. You're starting to wish those days away, the days that are in between. And
Right.
when I wasn't happy, I started to resort to alcohol. And
Mhm.
and as that progression, that addiction continued to grow throughout in my 30s, it was really when I started
Mm.
to struggle with alcohol. But I was always, I got stuck in that cycle. It's like, okay, I've got to this job.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to wait 2 or 3 years to get to the next job. That's how my mind is thinking. But what am I going to do in the interim? I've got
Right.
2 years of what? So
Yeah.
I was drinking more. I was partying more. I was chasing women and chasing. I wanted to drive a fancy vehicle, and
Mhm.
it was all a facade. But that spiral of the addiction of alcohol continued to just get deeper and deeper as I got into my 30s,
Mm.
and I wasn't happy. I wasn't living in the moment. I wasn't enjoying the things that the Lord had blessed me with, even though I wasn't walking with the Lord at the time. And so yeah, a lot of it, even I missed out on a lot of the my nieces and nephews' birthdays,
Mm.
moments with the family, when I was just stuck in my self-centeredness, wishing for the next thing, the next big
Right.
thing that's going to happen, which is going to make me happy.
Do you feel like in one sense that how did that when then thing play into your maybe putting off some of the steps that you needed to take to really begin to see your life take a different direction? Like one of the things I've noticed with guys is they often are either hoping that their addiction goes away. That's almost like the type B guy that goes, when this happens, then this is going to magically disappear. Like, marriage, or when I get older and my sex drive goes down or whatever. Or they're going, when I get out of this super stressful time in my life, then I'll be able to focus on recovery. And they, that when, never comes. And they're always pushing off those steps that they need to make in your life. I'm just curious if you found that in one sense disabled you from actually changing your life, where you could begin to see some of those thens actually become a product of your decisions.
It was a stalemate. It was kind of a pause. Everything, I always felt that whatever was coming next held the promise of something better. And so that put you in a constant state of, okay, everything around you become numb to, right? You're still chasing that golden carrot.
Mhm.
And yeah, and the more that the success factor of life, and I was always, I wanted to get the accolades of man, right? I lost my father when I was 8 years old. I grew up in a single parent household until I was 22, and I was the oldest of three.
Mm.
So not having a father figure to kind of show me the ropes, I always felt that I got shortchanged. So there was, some of that was not having the validation of a
Mhm.
father figure in my life. Really also kind of poured some gasoline on the addiction, I think, as far as seeking for some kind of solace and seeking some kind of just affirmation in love.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess that can almost be, you could play that backwards. If this had happened, then I would not have been on, or I would not have experienced the life, or it almost becomes a disabling thing looking backwards, where you're going, because I was subject to these, growing up realities, therefore I was susceptible, and therefore I am still, in one sense, disabled from really beginning to move into something different. Was that something that you wrestled with, or were you always more of a take charge guy? I control my own life.
It's good that you mentioned that too, because I think at some point in time, I was driven, but then when the alcohol kicks in, you're in that self-pity mode then, right? There's this flip almost where you're like, I'm going to strive. I'm going to try and get this, and this to fulfill these things that I think are going to make me happier, make tomorrow a better day.
Mm-hmm.
And then when tomorrow doesn't turn out to be a better day, you have the pity party and it says, woe is me. So I was going to turn to my addiction. My at the time it was, I literally called alcohol my best friend. And so yeah, to find some solace. And I recall days where I knew by the time I started my day at work, if it was going to be a good day or a bad day, that I was going to be, what type of mood I would be in that evening when I had a drink, my first drink.
Right. And I know so many guys that would say the same thing around porn or sexual acting out behaviors. They could pretty well tell you at the beginning of the day what their day is going to end like. It's like, and when this happens, then it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. This trap. When this happens, then I'm going to be back in porn.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that, if I can stay away from this environmental thing happening, then I'm going to be okay. But when this happens, then, so it plays in that aspect of our lives as well. Yeah. You know what? I think the reality is there's so many people that are just waiting for something to change in their life. I didn't play a lot of video games growing up, but I think it was Frogger, that you had to jump off one platform. And if you waited too long, you died. But you had to jump off just at the right time. Maybe I'm getting my video games mixed up with with another one, but you had to jump to get to the next higher platform. Help me if you're a younger guy than I am. Maybe you played that game.
I'm thinking that's Super Mario Brothers. I remember that. I think that's what you're talking about, when he jumps to the next. Yeah. Moving.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you just wait, if you're not actually able to engage, so many people are going, you know what, I'm just waiting for something to change. And the reality is, there are some really scary, bad things that happen just letting your life and addiction play itself out in your life. And I'm trying to tell guys all the time, we call it negative aversion therapy. I just say to them, imagine your life 3 years from now. If it's alcohol, if it's drugs, if it's porn, imagine this just plays out in its pattern of growing in your life. Where do you see your life potentially being? And so many guys are like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
well, I don't want
to. That's a chest thump, isn't it?
Yeah. And they're just going, I don't even want to think about that. Or, I think I can keep this so that doesn't happen. But we all know that's not really the reality of it. Cause and then you get the ultimate, when your life falls apart, then you will have to face the reality, the Piper, the Piper, whatever, plays his tune, or the chickens come home to roost, or whatever they say in Iowa, I don't know, or the Cornhuskers shuck their corn, or whatever it is. That's Nebraska. But at some point there will be the inevitable playing out of a growing addiction in your life.
Absolutely. And Vern, it is when I think about some of the rehabilitation programs that I went through as well, after I was let go from one of the last footwear job I had, which was, it was a great position. It was a great role. Mm-hmm. The company wanted to assist me in getting help. They actually offered to give me 3 months off to go up to a facility in Minnesota that's a well-renowned facility. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, I can handle that. Or I can handle my addiction on my own. I can go to outpatient program and still be able to work and maintain this. And that failed miserably. But then once that happened, when I was let go from that position, the next day I realized, I'm like, okay, I need to get a handle on this. So I had to go through losing that job that I had chased for years, actually for almost 2 decades, to understand, okay, I got to go to a rehab center And that was the first of many, actually. So that was the
Right.
first time I said, okay, I've hit rock bottom. So here's my when. Now I got to go and get some help. And
Right.
then I'll submit to go into a rehab center. But then again, that happened once I got out again, and I continued on that path where I had to hit rock bottom. So it was like, when I hit rock bottom, then I'm going to submit to the Lord and say, okay, I'm
Right.
done. And that's what brought me to Iowa, because I was so against, I'm like, what's going to fix me in Iowa? I lived in some big cities, and I went through, again, a Betty Ford clinic.
Okay.
So what's going to fix me in this little small town, less than 5,000 people? What's going to fix me in Iowa that I didn't already learn enough from or get advice from in the past? So yeah, there's two sides. That's double-edged.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to, it's great. I just wanted to have you on and just kind of chat about, just kind of the follow-up when I was with your guys in your group. And, here's one I heard today when, now this one is appropriate to my last podcast, was called The Donald and Other Recovery Distractions, about all the stuff we get caught up in. This is what someone told me today. This is what literally they said: when the election is over, then I'll be less irritable and angry. And I'm thinking, I think that you're probably going to be as irritable and angry after as you were before. Maybe waiting for that is actually not what's going to give you peace of mind and serenity. So, just the thought. I didn't say it to that person because it wasn't they weren't really asking for my advice, but there we go. So, David, God's blessing on you. You're now working in Iowa. It sounds like you got a group of guys that you hang out with and connections. In a small town, you got some good guys around you.
Yeah, actually, since I went through the program, I moved over to Waterloo, which is a bigger city with some more employment opportunities, and got a good group of guys that we've connected with through some different churches, through men's ministry, about 7 to 8 different churches actually in the area.
Cool.
And it's been pretty neat to see how through this pandemic, the opportunity and the platform to connect via technology and Zoom has really kind of opened up some doors for us. And it was such an honor and a pleasure to have you on with us, and to see you on a couple of different times. I know it's early on a Saturday morning for you to get up.
Yeah, it's at 6. Well, 6. I got my other guys group at 7:30. But if anyone's looking for a guys group, just because I know you guys deal with all sorts of topics, a lot of them have real spiritual application as well. How do they connect with you, David?
You can email me at my personal email address, which is david.dzur, and that's spelled DEZUR @gmail.com. We have a Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time Zoom call. We also have a Monday night meeting that we connect with some guys through. One of my buddies is a pastor, a good friend of mine is a pastor out of Wisconsin, and they host a Monday night men's meeting as well. So we're on Zoom, but again, it's david.dzur @gmail.com.
Or if you're from Canada, it's DEZUR. But we'll let you guys have it down there, whether you're from Nebraska or Iowa. Thanks for coming on, David. Have a great rest of your night. And for the rest of you guys, encourage you to just to check out the website again, bandofbrothers.care. And if you want to get a hold of me, my email is bandofbrothers@shaw.ca. We'll see you next time.